I'm getting there.
It's okay. It's all right. All right. So nobody say anything bad because we're live right now. You two behave yourself.
Not today.
We'll put a thing over your.
John, you missed that one right there.
This thing keeps falling off.
Oh, the weather's changing a little bit.
We need the moisture. We still need the moisture.
Big runoff and I get
It's not.
pretty much dried up.
Yeah, but you know, I put all that, what the heck you feel left here, not fertilizer, but, I use sugar fertilizer. But, well, not ash, but the same thing, you know, yeah, put a lot of time into that, got all the fields.
Kind of like wine.
That's exactly right. Yep, acidity, does the acidity, brings the acidity. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Could we rise for the pledge this morning, please?
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, this nice spring morning. We're going to start our meeting by the swearing in of our elected officials.
Yes, I'm going to swear in Jen, our town clerk tax collector, and then she's going to, now that she'll be official, she'll swear in the rest of us.
Got it. Do you have a note, or do you need one?
I need one. Did you bring one?
Good, just put them in your phone.
Okay. Yes, picture time for fam if they want to just get that side, not this side.
It's always the back of my head. Oh my gosh, I'm always doing the swearing in, that's what I mean.
Right
Yeah.
hand.
Okay.
All right. Upon your taking the oath of office and having this appointment certificate and said oath recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers to perform the duties as a newly elected officer for the town of Belmont. As of March 19th, 2025, do you, Jennifer Cashman, swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on you as an officer for the town of Belmont, according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
All right.
So everybody else stand up. Good morning and welcome and congratulations on your newly elected offices. Please raise your right hands.
Jen, hold on.
You have one?
John's behind you.
John and Sharon, or, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
And when you're done, after she swears you in, all of your oaths to sign are across the hall.
Right across the hall. Yep, and just sign and then I'll sign. I'll have a copy in my office, and if you want a copy of it, just stop by and pass me one. All right. Upon your taking the oath of office and having this appointment certificate and said oath recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers to perform the duties as a newly elected officer for the town of Belmont. As of March 19, 2025, do you swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on you as an officer for the town of Belmont, according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulation of the Constitution and the laws of the great state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
All right, congratulations. 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 Congrats. Thank you so much for coming in. If you guys want to just come on over here. Congratulations. Oh, just follow Jules right across the hall and you'll find your oath there.
And Ron thought he was retiring.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just got sworn in.
Does that come with a pay raise?
Not this year.
Everybody says cut. I don't want to cut. I want to add.
John.
Okay, our next item is the organization of the Belmont Board of Selectmen and committee assignments. Okay, so we want to do chairman,
Yep, so you
correct?
have chairman, I have it, the list of assignments in your, motions.
All right, okay, chairman,
I'd like to make a motion to have Ruth as chairman.
thank you.
I'd second that.
I appreciate that. All right. We have the motion and the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, oppose?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, they oppose?
Yeah, I guess you oppose.
Okay, so 50-50, so what happens?
Motion fails.
You have to vote still. You,
Oh, I
you
still
can
have to
vote.
vote?
Yeah, you can
all
vote.
right. Well, I figured,
You have
seeing I was appointed,
That's the reason
I
there's
couldn't-
5 of us to
All
break a
right.
tie.
Okay, then I say aye. All right. Vice chairman, vice chair. Who would like to represent, who would like
I'd
to be
like to
vice
make a
chair?
motion to make John Pike the vice chairman.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Oh, yeah.
Not you, them. The audience, please be quiet.
Stop talking in the audience so that we can hear. Please stop talking. Thank you.
Okay, where were we?
You gotta now call for the vote.
She did. She did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And did it pass?
Yeah.
I believe so.
I didn't hear what the vote was.
Okay. I said aye. You said aye.
Yeah, voted, yep.
Sharon said aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Planning board rep. I'll make the motion that, we appoint John Pike for planning board rep.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so no opposition. Budget committee rep.
I'll nominate Ruth Mooney as a representative of the budget committee.
Okay, do I have a second for
Second.
that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Heritage Commission, who was on the?
Sharon, did you oppose or aye, or nay, abstain?
No. No, I didn't oppose. So, yeah.
Heritage Commission, who sits on that now?
Me currently.
You apparently?
Me currently.
Oh, currently, I thought he said me.
Currently.
The room was quiet. Okay? So let's tune them up.
All right, so let's appoint Travis to the Heritage Commission.
I'll
Do I have-
second that.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Oh, none? All right.
Aye.
Sharon, are you the conservation?
Huh?
Are you the conservation? Who's the
I am the conservation.
Would you like to stay on the conservation?
I ain't taking another
Okay,
one.
then I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion
What
to.
did he say?
What'd you say?
I said I'm not taking another one.
Oh, all right. You're stuck with it. So I'll make a motion that Sharon Champy, stay on the Conservation Commission. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I was gonna say, nobody wants a second.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? You got that, Sharon? Okay. Now let's move on to minutes. We have minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting held on February 19th. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make that. Oop.
Go ahead, Sonny.
Go ahead.
You
You got it, you got it.
Oh, I got it? All right, I'll make that motion to accept the minutes of February 19th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. And we have minutes of the Board of Selectmen public meeting held on March 5th. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll move it. I'll make the motion.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Minutes of the Board of Selectmen non-public meeting held on March 5th. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, I will pass those down to Travis for signing. Town meeting update. This is gonna be Jen and, Alicia.
Jen, can you give us, and then I'll follow up your.
Sure.
Piece of paper.
I've got.
Take notes.
chase those glasses a lot, you know.
Do you?
I gave up and just kept them on.
Just because I can't walk.
Oh.
So it's one or the other. First of all, I would like to thank our select board for your attendance and willingness to help at the election in any way possible. You guys are always willing and ready to lend a hand wherever needed. I'd also like to thank the supervisor of the checklist, Brenda Paquette, Donna Shepard, and Nikki Wheeler, and all of the ballot clerks who worked at the election because they're integral in its success. Also our town moderator, Al Nix, and my staff, Samantha LeClaire and Devin Tibbetts, who kept the office open all day and then came down to work the election for the evening. The election went off with no major problems, unlike the last one, which started off with a major problem. It was definitely a low turnout. We have approximately 5,100 registered voters in the town of Belmont, and we had a total of 885 ballots cast at the election. It's about an 18% turnout. Do you guys have any questions, or?
I have one. At the end of the meeting, or damn near the end of the meeting, the finance director for the school stood up and made a statement about the ballots in Canterbury were not gonna be delivered as they normally are by a police, and that they were gonna keep them overnight in Canterbury. I believe if we look forward on the election laws, that's a big no-no. Those are to come here. In fact, your predecessor read me the riot act, so why don't you stand up? I didn't realize that was gonna happen. She just said they were gonna be late. And which in past years, when we had a real bad snowstorm and they didn't have a car capable, the police department went down and got them to bring those ballots up and put them in our vault, because they don't have a vault. How do we know those ballots haven't been tampered with?
Well, I will tell you that it was quite a bit of discussion that day between Brenda, who generally helps the school with their election. They do not have a ballot counting device in the town of Canterbury. And they were told by Bud Fitch, who is the attorney for the Secretary of State's, or legal counsel for the Secretary of State's office, that it was improper for them to bring the ballots to our school to put through our voting machine, and that they would be hand counted there. I'm a little not quite sure of what the timeline was. I thought somebody said they had 48 hours to deliver the results, which I don't believe is correct. We did have the results the next day, but as far as I understand, that's why the change was made.
I understand.
And then as far as the integrity of the count, I would hope that we can rely on the town of Canterbury as much as my office expects the town of Belmont to believe that we are doing everything the correct way and upholding our oaths of office as election officials to do the right thing.
I would like somebody from the town of Belmont with authority to call the Secretary of State's office and verify that.
Certainly.
Because my understanding is, when they have police cruisers, they could have put their ballots in a box and come, and I've, in years past, stayed at the town hall with Cynthia and carried the ballots in, and she put them in the vault and secured them, and that's been the policy for, well,
And I'm
18
assuming
years.
that's what they did with their ballots there, because I also did that with our ballots.
But the reason
from
I
our
came
election.
here is because they didn't, it wasn't to put them through the machine necessarily, it was because we had a vault and they didn't.
Oh, I thought they had to come here and they were counted here.
They were put
Yeah.
through the machine.
Right, but I think years past, before we had the machine, they were counted here, if I remember correctly. Cause I can actually remember one year there was a wicked snowstorm, and it was forever, the ballot clerk or the tax collector, whoever came in the Canterbury police cruiser, and they even had a hard time getting to the high school for it with the ballots, so.
It's crazy, every
Yeah.
year there's a terrible snowstorm on election day.
Yeah, it
To
seems
where they
like-
amended the reason for voting absentee, and then this year it's like 65
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah, you never know.
Crazy.
All right.
So yes, I certainly will, John, and.
I'm not finding fault with you, but I found that out of the normal. And weather wasn't an issue.
Brenda Paquette said the same thing. She said, I have notes from the meetings that they did back in the day with Bud Fitch, who is the legal counsel, and it was not Dave Scanlon, it was his predecessor, whose name eludes me, going over all this and what the proper protocol was, and
I'd just
she
like to have
was
it gone.
contacted right before the election by Dave Scanlon and Bud Fitch that that was improper. So I will find out and get back to you.
Thank Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna update you on the kind of the numbers and where we're at with the warrants, the ballot. So welcome back, Mr. Pike, as Selectman and now Vice Chairman. Of the 35 articles that we had, all passed but 4 articles. The PD union amended wages passed by 74 votes. I like that I was Irish there. The operating budget failed by 29 votes. The warrant article for the facilities capital reserve failed by 114 votes. The warrant article to add 2 new firefighters failed by 254 votes. The warrant article to increase the number of cemetery trustees failed by 257 votes. With the approved PD wages and contingency funds, so those 2 approved separate warrant articles now get blended into our operating budget. Our new budget is $10,988,382. The difference in the proposed operating budget and the approved budget is a shortfall of $552,424.53.
Okay. All right. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll move on to the MS 232.
So yes, I provided you the final MS 232, so what that is after town meeting, I take the ballot and I upload the portal, and that's all our voted appropriations, everything that passed, everything that fails, and that spits out our appropriations for the year. So then you as the board have to sign that, and then I'll send that to DRA.
We have it all signed.
Okay, great. I'll follow that.
Okay. I guess the next is Beautify Belmont.
Yes, every year we've been trying to promote Beautify Belmont and mirror Beautify Belmont Day with Earth Day. And I know, Danielle has already started a cleanup effort for the beach. And, so I just wanna kinda get a motion to declare April 19th as Beautify Belmont Day. And we'll probably have Danielle or myself, work with, the schools. I know Ron's still here. Ron has brought, some volunteers from, is it New Hampton? Do they sometimes come down?
It's Holderness School.
Holderness, okay.
And right
Oh,
now,
they're coming to Belmont.
we're thinking on Tuesday, the 22nd, that we'll get a crew coming down. So if there's something that's fairly good size that needs to be done, let us know. This is with the Legion.
So this is when everybody goes out with their blue bags and picks up all the
Yes, yep,
trash
they can
and
pick up
whatever.
the blue bags.
Leave it beside the road, and Highway will handle that the beginning of the week,
Correct.
during regular business hours.
Town hall or DPW have the blue bags.
Right, and the blue bags can be picked up either at Town Hall or DPW.
Correct,
Okay, and we have those on hand,
correct.
okay.
Yeah, we have that from last year.
So we need a motion, I'll make a motion to declare April 19th, 2025 as Beautify Belmont Day.
I'll second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Community Water and Sewer Cybersecurity Grants. Is that Brian?
Brian's gonna come up and,
Yeah.
actually, I have one more thing after that.
Got a couple things for you guys.
Yeah?
We'll start with this one. So, first off, good morning.
Good morning.
One.
A couple weeks ago, Alicia kind of sent me some information on this program that DES is running. It's a grant-funded program through a company called Overwatch, and they provide cybersecurity for wastewater and drinking water throughout municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little research, reached out to our partners at Penachuk. They support it fully. They actually use it in their systems. And then I called our SCADA guy just because what this will likely entail is work from them, which should be funded by this program, to upgrade. They're gonna first start by assessing our systems, see what we need, and then there may be the potential to do some upgrades. But, I mean, we all watch the news, we all see what's, on every day at noon time, this, information breach here, whatever.
Yep.
So, it's just it's a state and federal funded program, it's a three-year lifespan on this.
So if we're awarded the grant, we have 3 years to do the work on it, is that what you're saying, or?
So my understanding is, I've already started the preliminary applications. If I get your blessing, we'll move forward if we're selected. They're gonna come in, they're gonna do an assessment. We have a SCADA system at the well right now that I can access on my phone, and Penachuk monitors 24/7 for us. That's the place that I see them finding some necessary improvements. We don't currently have anything for our wastewater, but there's potential. And it would be a big thing for Belmont to get into SCADA monitoring for some of our bigger pump stations. The software and hardware, like the actual equipment, should be funded by the state. Moving forward, we have some, like, subscriptions that we do pay for, but we can budget for that stuff, and it's pretty minimal in the scheme of things. But that's like 3 years down the road. I know you guys always look for what it's gonna cost the town after the grant sunsets, and so, right now, the subscription for Team U is what, $800 a year?
Right.
And that gets us our SCADA monitoring. So I see it being something similar to that, you know, down the road.
Wow,
So
that,
this is kind of just an FYI to say that these two grants are out there. We
Yep.
started the process, and then once they do the assessment, we'll be able to come back to you and say, okay, this is gonna be the cost, to the town, this is what the grant is for, and this is gonna be the future cost, and then you guys can,
side,
decide
and obviously
at
the,
that point.
that obviously liability-wise is huge.
It is, I mean, we've got some good stuff going on for us where our SCADA system isn't tied to our billing
Right.
system, but it's just, why not make things as secure as you can, whenever you can,
Yep.
especially when there's funding available.
And drinking water, clean drinking water is huge.
Yep.
All right.
And didn't you say this would help us with
Oh, well,
something else?
yeah, it's, we go through a,
survey?
sanitary survey every couple of years.
Yep,
That
every,
was a big thing that they talked about the last sanitary survey we did, so it will only help us get extra points.
all right, cool. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think that's huge when it comes to clean drinking water. I'm a big proponent of that, that's for sure. All right. Okay, awesome. Okay, SB 297, impact on health trust and member groups.
I've provided you in your packet, we got a kind of a very alarming email from Health Trust, who is our carrier who provides the health insurance for all of our town employees. This, SB 297 passed the Senate Finance Committee, and I think it's going either this week or next week, I don't know the dates. So basically what this does is, puts the risk onto the towns instead of Health Trust. Health Trust is the risk pool, so we are all part of this pool, so we all put in this money, and whether my claims are higher this year or lower, and in other towns, the risk evens out between all of us, so then the following year, your claims can go higher or lower. So this would shift the risk to the towns. So the way up, and this was kind of just thrown on Health Trust before it was even presented and the facts asked to them. So essentially, let's just say, our claims, or our, contribution is $1 million, let's just say that. And at the end of the year, we had more claims and we exceeded the $1 million and we are at 1.5. We need to pay Health Trust the $5 million, or the $500,000 difference. And this would require towns to, establish a fund that, you must rebuild the fund at a rate of at least 1% of the following year until the 4% fund has been achieved. So this would be very detrimental to the towns that provide the health insurance, and I give you more information if you have here. I mean, obviously Health Trust has urged municipalities to speak against this.
Don't you love it? How do I respond to that? I guess we can only hope, are we sending a letter to whom?
You would be sending it to Senator Lang.
There's no point to send it to the senator, it's on consent calendar, so it's gonna pass, it's gonna go to the House right away.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on consent. So they're not even gonna vote on it on the floor, they're just gonna pass the consent calendar.
Democracy at its best.
So the House will be your next best bet.
Yeah, so we'll be, you know, if you would like me to, I can send a letter. I know a lot of the have,
Yep. Obviously, because, that would mean we would have to find another $500,000 in our default budget to, or whatever that figure is.
Whatever that-
It probably wouldn't be
whatever your
this
figure
year.
was.
It probably wouldn't be
Ain't gonna go
till the
anywhere.
next calendar year, I'm guessing.
right.
But that will just, yeah, yeah.
And it would probably, I think that, you know, you have to build up that reserve, because you're never gonna know.
You're
until
not
that
gonna know
end of
what that
the
amount
year
is.
And how that plays into us and our budgeting,
Mhm.
what that reserve is going to be, and if you go over your contribution or not.
Little contingency fund run.
So that's among one of the many
All right,
Senate bills out there that affect us.
okay, great. That's another good news. Okay, Asset Management Grant 2024, Water System Sustainability Grant. Is that,
Brian,
that's Brian again.
Should've just stayed right up here.
There you go.
So, most of you guys will remember the wrap-up session we had last summer.
Yep.
That was for a similar grant for wastewater. It was a great thing for us to go through. It provided us maps of our system that are very user-friendly. We actually use them when we do our cleaning and camera projects, when we do our inspections. We can use them for our daily sewer inspections. They set it up for that. We just don't have the technology to hand out tablets to everybody to go check stations.
Sure,
But we'll get there someday, maybe.
yeah.
That grant sunset, 2 years ago, we applied for the same grant and were denied. And then just a few months ago, we applied for it again, and we were accepted.
Oh.
The caveat with this one is, like everything, the federal money's kind of fading, and they want a match now. So it's still a $30,000 grant, but they want us to provide $10,000. So the DES will provide 20. We would have to provide 10, which we propose taking out of capital. budget.
The capital reserve for water, I assume.
Yes, because this would be,
Yep.
the water asset
Yep.
management.
Yep,
This program would be huge for us, especially with our wetland survey.
of course.
Coming in, if we can put it all, kind of wrap it all together and use it and get everything done at once.
Sure, all right, okay. Do we need a motion for that, or we just, the grant's already been accepted?
We have to sign a contract
Yeah.
to commit the $10,000.
All right, all right.
I'm sorry, I did not, give you guys a motion for that,
No.
so,
All right.
Yes, you could.
So I'll make a motion that we,
I have a quick question.
oh, go ahead.
Where are we pulling the 10,000 from? Which,
The water capital reserve.
the water capital,
Wa-
okay, I missed that part.
Okay,
Sorry about
all right. So I'll make a motion that, we pull $10,000 from the water, capital reserve to, as a match for the, grant for the asset management.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none? Thank you, Brian.
And then Ruth, I'll have you sign the
Yep.
grant agreement after.
Okay, all right. Just signing, no initials, just signing.
I think it's just one page,
Okay.
so.
All right. Belmont Baseball Opening Day Ceremonies Parade, Saturday, May 3rd.
Yes, I have an email in your packet. The president of the Belmont Baseball Organization has requested, that they would like to have a parade that will start, they'll meet at, sorry, I lost my page here. So they'll gather at, Sergeant Park, march up from Sergeant Street to School Street, and then around the SAU, building up to Bryant Field, where they will spend the opening day celebrating and playing baseball. I believe they've also spoken to the chief, and he's in agreement that that is okay.
So it's not going out on the main street, it's kind of
No.
sticking.
And I think last year they did, right? They started here, curved up Mill, over to Main and up that way, so.
Yep.
I think they felt it was better to just.
Yep.
bypass
So
that.
you need,
I do have a motion for you.
Okay. somebody like to make that motion?
Make a motion to approve the request for Belmont Baseball Organization to allow the opening day ceremonies parade route from Sergeant Street to School Street on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition. This one's fun. NHDOT, Durgan Brook Bridge update.
Yes, you have a letter in your packet from the New Hampshire Department of Transportation Bridge Funding Department. We had talked about this, I believe, in, I think it was February of '23. They had asked us that, they had placed us on our, bridge replacement program, and they would, if we were interested in having the Durgan Brook Bridge replaced, we would have to fund 20% of the total cost. So back then, they estimated the cost to be $1.3 million. Over the past 2 years, they have tracked project costs increases across all state projects, the most significant of which were noted on bridge construction projects. Based on project bid data, over the past 2 years, DOT believes it is prudent to increase the preliminary cost estimate for your newly enrolled bridge aid project to account for escalation. The updated preliminary cost estimate for your bridge aid project is now $1.9 million in current day dollars. The municipality's 20% share for this updated cost is now estimated to be approximately $381,800 in current day dollars. They recommend budgeting an additional 3 to 5% per year to this updated cost estimate to account for future inflation. And this project is enrolled in the current 2025 to 2034 10-year plan. So at some point between 25 and 34, this bridge would get
I hope it holds up.
replaced.
Where is this bridge?
It's on Union Road.
You know,
It's more of a,
Over by the campground?
no, it's over by,
I'm like Tucker Shore.
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, $2 million at this point to do that. So what do we, have we put monies, we have monies in our bridge.
We do.
How much do we have in?
We have 408,000 right now. So, I mean, what I would recommend is that if you wanted to still keep money, because we still have the Church Street Bridge.
I know, that's the one that scares me even worse than this one.
Is over the next few years,
Yep.
increase your, contribution to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund to kind of meet this with the escalation, to just set it aside for a certain project. But as of today, yes, you have it, yes, it would deplete the account fully, but
If they came, like they did with the church a few years ago, they inspected it like in July and then and closed it in August, I believe it was, unannounced.
If they close this bridge, that's gonna cause a big problem.
Which one, the one on?
Going on Union Road.
Yeah.
Because of the summer traffic.
Oh, of course.
And the amount of traffic being pushed off Route 3 is going onto Union Road and Horn Road, and it's just causing a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
Because now you got that new section going on there, but I don't know how we were ever gonna get enough money to do it.
I know.
And we just paid off Holy Road, didn't we?
Did we pay off Holy Road, or we're
The
going
last
to?
one.
I think it's the last year.
Yeah.
so
All right.
if you would like to reaffirm our committal, and make a motion to,
We can reaffirm it, it just doesn't do us any good, but that's okay.
We're gonna
would someone-
have to
They
put
don't
more
have any-
money in that account.
We're gonna have to put more money in it, right?
But they don't have
So-
any money anyway, so they're
No.
not gonna jump in right now.
And it's a 10-year plan, so it'll probably be 20 years, if it holds up 20 years.
I won't be, yes.
Who would like to make that motion? Nobody wants to make the motion. Motion to reaffirm the committal of the municipality 20% match to fund the Durkee Brook Bridge rehabilitation with an established commitment of $381,000 in current day dollars as estimated by the New Hampshire Department of Transportation as of March 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In some way, we should encase that in stone. That commitment from them.
Well,
That's the most important part of that letter. Never mind the
it's an
300.
estimate.
Yeah.
And then I told you to.
I understand
when the
that, but they,
Right.
at today's value, so they established today's value by their $1.9 million. So we should encase that somewhere so our predecessors can go back and say, wait a minute, you were in for $1.9 million. How'd we lose that money? because that's what they'll do, they'll change their mind.
Well, it was no different than when the Church Street, when we had the issue with Church Street, Church Hill, they were gonna match it. And then their match was, we would allow our engineer to look at our engineer will, look at your plans, and that was it. So we got no match on that. That was a
Well, you
real.
gotta keep this somewhere where, under the
Yeah.
bridge things, keep it
Yeah.
really highlighted.
Also, on the back of the letter it says, please note that by checking yes does not legally bind Belmont to enrolling in our Bridge Aid
Belmont,
program. We
not
are
the
simply
state.
looking for continued confirmation that your municipality is interested in pursuing a Bridge Aid project with DOT, and that your municipality would work towards obtaining your local match of 20%.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do, so.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item is a Conservation Commission appointment. Denise, is Denise here?
Maybe.
Maybe, no, she isn't, all right. I'll make a motion to appoint Denise Nivea, is it Neva? As a full member to the Conservation Commission with a term expiring March 31st, 2028. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, okay. The next one is a cemetery trustee appointment. A motion to appoint, I'll make the motion to appoint Katie Eaton as an alternate member to the cemetery trustees with a term expiring March 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
What about Barbara?
Oh, that's the next motion.
Because it's all written in the same way.
No. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the next motion is to appoint Barbara Bennett as an alternate member to the cemetery trustees with a term expiring March 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Our next one is Richard Fournier versus the Town of Belmont, abatement appeal.
Yes, we had one abatement that, opted to go to Superior, take us to Superior Court versus the BCLA. So we just got notice of the bench trial. I'm just giving you those 3 dates that are coming in, July, October, and November.
And no, that is a 2023 abatement, not a 2024 abatement.
Oh, really? Okay. Back a ways ago. All right, and, is this something that, we need someone from the Board of Selectmen to go to? Or is this just something our attorney handles?
Our attorney is currently handling it,
All right.
and once we get closer to July, I
He'll
will
let us
ask them
know.
who they would like for representation there if need be.
Okay.
Soon KRT will also be there as a witness and, to defend his, value on behalf of the
Sure.
town.
Okay, all right, would someone like to make that motion? No, we don't need a motion for
Need a
that.
motion.
Okay, don't need a motion. Fire truck tanker financing. Yep, Steve,
Morning.
good morning.
All right. Also, just to update you, Camden National Bank merger went through officially on Monday. So we're dealing with Camden National at this point, and all of Northway is
Gone.
done. So
Amazing.
we'll see how that goes, and we'll assess.
Right, right,
Yeah, I've talked to a few people over there in the corporate department. They seem pretty good, especially, we have a decent balance with them. So they've been receptive so far, so.
time will tell. They're not the only game in town.
So that kinda hit my brain, it's like, how's it gonna work, how's it gonna look? If it's good, then it's good. If it's not, then, you don't have to stay with them, so.
Sure, Yep.
and we'll evaluate it as time goes on.
all right, thank you.
So as far as the fire truck tanker financing, we went and got a few quotes way back, and then as it got approved, we went back to those companies and got new quotes. The good thing is, interest rates have ticked down slightly from that point, which was nice. So I think once we presented it, a few months back, it's probably gonna be about $1,000 per year savings on the loan. So, speaking with Alicia, we went with a company called Municipal Leasing Consultants. They're out of Vermont. They've been in business for 30 years, and essentially what they do well, they do all municipal leasing, all vehicles, anything that deal with municipal leasing. But what they do is they go to, other banks, I'm sure they partner with other banks to get the best rate, and then, they come back to their client with those rates. So, the rate that we got, was slightly better than, Franklin Savings Bank, and a lot better than, First Republic that we looked at. So the rate that, we're looking at now is 4.61%. And the initial $250,000, the warrant article approved $550,000. The first $250,000 will go to the tanker company, which then will leave us, to finance $300,000 through the bank. The overall finance charge over the 5-year period would be $42,802. And the yearly payment is gonna be $68,560, and that starts in 2026. So if we can get this financing in place by April of '26 will be the first payments. The last payments will end come 2030. So currently we have, after this year, we have one lease falling off the fire department side. 2028, we have the other lease falling off, and then this will fall off come 2030. So,
Okay.
And all these funds will come from
the funds come from the ambulance,
The payment does? No, the 200, the down payment does.
and the payments will come from the ambulance
Both.
special revenue funds.
Yeah.
Okay, and that has to be voted on each year.
Yeah.
Right.
And this whole lease is determined on being voted on by the voters.
So if, you know, in 2027, the voters say no to this, the truck goes back and we
Technically,
lose.
a non-appropriation
Right,
clause.
right.
And I don't know how common it is, but to your point, you're right, you just turn the keys, you give them the fire truck, and you say, thanks, we don't
Yep.
have the money.
Right.
You lose all the money you
And you
Yeah.
lose every cent that you put into it.
That's
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
But it does come from the ambulance account. The ambulance account currently has, $590,000.
Right, but we're expecting an ambulance.
Yeah, we got another vehicle coming.
Right, the ambulance,
It's already, so that down payment has already been made in, I
And
think, one or
we-
two payments.
And we've been making payments, we just don't have the ambulance.
right, we've made, what, maybe two payments on that
Probably two.
ambulance?
Yeah, that's the one that ends in 2028.
Okay, got it.
That's $105,000.
Yep.
Per year.
Yep.
So, but based off of my kind of cash flow projections, where the ambulance bank account, where I thought the ambulance bank account was compared to, you know, if this went through, we're kind of right on
Okay.
schedule.
Mhm.
Actually, there's probably a few more dollars, because I don't want to say underestimate, I conservatively estimated if this was a feasible.
But the thing is that, when that lease, we need to order another ambulance. Because it's taken over 2 years, I believe, so we have to, you know, when we meet with the chief, we gotta get that in the works. Yeah,
And
keep
we'll
that.
see where, I mean,
Right.
if that money's gonna come from the ambulance.
It may not be
Yeah,
able to come from the ambulance.
And we spent some money on a big truck on one of the pumping trucks this year,
Right.
and are still spending.
Yeah. All right.
How many times can we keep doing this? Every time we need a vehicle?
Oh, I think the next ambulance will probably have to be bonded. I think we had kind of talked about that we may have to get to the point, we may be.
It's possible, because when
Yes.
we ran a 3-year loan, so
Yeah.
if we started with a 3-year loan, we essentially would run out of money.
Right.
So that's why we had to stretch this loan to a,
Because the other issue's going to be,
We're going to the well too many times.
right, you're exactly right.
yeah, and there's only so much revenue, I mean, the revenue's not gonna double, it's not a business,
No.
right?
Right.
As a whole. There are options out there, though, where you can extend, you know, the lease payments, and-
Or you go to private ambulance.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
You know, they keep voting the budget down, and people don't understand that it takes X amount of dollars to run a business. And you keep cutting it down, and we get in trouble, and all of a sudden, these vehicles start going back, what are you gonna do?
we're not gonna have money to repair
Then you're gonna
them.
have to go back to the town and say, you know, we gotta have $10 million here, and they're not gonna like that.
Yep.
Even though our total cost, you know, the town's evaluations is $1.5 billion, these people still don't wanna spend the money, so.
Right.
I don't,
It's a double whammy, right? So we're running on a default budget,
Right,
but inflation is ticking, I mean, it's ticking back up, and then just that bridge project alone kind of.
I mean, we scrimped last year and not that we were thankful that we had, empty slots in the police department. We had those funds available that we could use and not, and took away from the taxpayers having to, they don't realize that those monies that were quote unquote left over was from vacancies.
That's right.
And it's
If people
unfortunate.
didn't leave, we wouldn't have had that money,
Yep.
and it'd be even more difficult.
Yep, it's whatever. All right, I'll make a motion to enter into a lease agreement with the municipal leasing consultants for the purchase of a fire tanker for the fire department as approved at the March 2025 town meeting with an interest rate of 4.617% with a term of 5 years, and authorize the town administrator to sign the acknowledgement letter. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wage adjustments, approval, unions and non-unions.
Can we move that back down to the end?
Oh,
And then
okay.
I just wanna get into a lengthy discussion with
All right.
something else. Can you just skip over to the LCHIP?
Okay, L-chip incentive payment acceptance.
Yes, this is a yearly check that we receive from the New Hampshire Land and Community Heritage Investment Program, LCHIP. They award the Town of Belmont with an incentive payment of $550, acknowledging submission of the required 2024 annual monitoring report for the Courier Sandborn Conservation Area. These funds are from the Community Conservation Endowment, CCE, which was established to help ensure that resources protected with LCHIP assistance remain in compliance with associated legal agreements. The Land Use Office requests permission to deposit the LCHIP funds into the conservation fund.
Someone like to make that motion? Who wants to make any motions today?
I'll do it. Motion to accept L-chip funds in the amount of $550 for the annual reporting of the Courier Sandborn Conservation Area. Funds then to be deposited into the Conservation Commission Fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Where would you like me, other new business?
Yes, so I forgot this in the beginning of my, town meeting update, but when I was asking, Bruce Convener, I think is how you say his name, at DRA, I said, hey, when we all put in our appropriations into the portal, do you have a way to tell us like how many towns defaulted? I said, oh, that's a really good question, let me see. So he reported back to me, so he gave me from 2017 to 2025, and 25 hasn't been fully reported yet because people have different, town meetings and voting days. Very interesting information, actually. So historically, towns have defaulted at an average rate of about 16 towns each year. So when in 17 there was 7 towns who defaulted, then 15, 17, 12, 13, 12, 13 in 24. I mean 13 towns in 23. In 2024, which was when we first defaulted, 34 towns defaulted. That was a 161% increase in towns defaulting. So Belmont wasn't an anomaly. It was around the whole state. In total, there's 221 towns in New Hampshire. There's 72 towns that are SB2 towns and 149 that are traditional town meeting. I'm interested to see if that number of defaulted towns for 25 surpasses the 34. He said as of right now, there's 14 towns. So,
Well, you know,
information out there.
I still have an issue with the fact that we have to send $1.4 million to the Department of Education as a town. I guess my brain is backwards. I would think the Department of Education should be sending us money.
I would agree with you. I
I
thought,
just,
we were sold many years ago that when the lottery system came to the
Yep.
state, all that money was going to education. All the profitability of that was going to offset every small town. And this is the first year that you've seen ads in the free paper or editorials from the town of Moultonborough, who probably has the least amount of, the highest values and the least amount of taxes paid. Because of all their waterfront, they have basically 250 miles of waterfront with all the coves and stuff and houses they've got. And they're starting to complain about their school budget. And then, wasn't aware of that until I had some tax bills copied up.
Yeah.
So we show somebody where the town money goes. We take in this money and where it goes, and we paid $1.4 million back to the state for education.
That was to equalize.
Equalize, yeah, but it still doesn't make it right. I mean, you can call equalization all you want. I mean, at this point, where's the money? And I also, on a side note, I'd like to see the Board of Selectmen put a letter in the local free paper and thank the people that came out and the number that came out and voted versus the people that are on the voters list. Would you tell me the total voters list, Colleen? How many voters do
Oh,
we
no,
have?
that was,
885.
885 total? That's what we had to vote.
That's super.
But how many registered voters do we have in town?
5,100.
State rest.
crazy.
It's crazy.
So it was an 18% voter turnout for our town budget.
Say thank you for the 18% that showed up. That's just plain poor.
That was more than last year.
Yeah, it's still poor.
Just saying.
More than last year. That's for sure. What was it, 700 and something last year? Okay, other new business?
I also provided
Yes.
you, last year I had, Rod, our land use tech, work on a project for me. Everyone sees in the town report the list of town-owned properties, and everyone thinks this very lengthy list is just up for sale, we can just make money. Well, it's not. A lot of those properties are, and I had Rod break it down for me, and there's a colored code there. A lot is, conservation land that can't be sold, or their wetlands can't be utilized, or their open space conservation, so they can't be sold. He did identify some that are potential, but he's going to, so of this 5-page list, there's really only 20 that may have the potential to be sold. So he's going to dive down further, give us some more information to see why, why do we own them? Some he's established are, vacant, wooded, steep slopes. Some he's established, may not be buildable. They're wetlands. They may abut another property, and we want to keep it, or we need to keep it. But I just wanted to just point out that we don't have this abundance. A lot of these are cemeteries.
And some of these,
Pump stations,
I'll be
town
honest with you,
buildings, the library, town,
there's
those are all in that
Yep.
report.
there's 2-3 pieces in here, and they were left, how do I wanna say, they were developments, okay? And it was, in fact, we personally get a letter every once in a while from a realtor and wants us to list the piece of property where the fire pond is off in Levitt Road.
Yeah.
They wanna buy that from, we get that, for whatever reason, it keeps popping up, and it's not buildable. I mean, it's, a lot of this stuff is swamp.
On Dutile Road, there's about 40 lots that were subdivided in the 50s. They're quarter-acre lots, and people actually bought them. But there's no road, you can't get to them.
No access.
They're all lots. How it ever got, because we didn't have planning and zoning and all that. There are actually is a map, and these little squares are put on the map, and people bought them and came up here, and there was a flag stuck in the thing. It was like a gold rush, and there's your lot, but there's no road to get to it. There's no way, if you didn't get one on the street, and it's all wet. I mean, it's really wet. It's a swamp. It's a high
And we
swamp.
required most of that.
There's
Three,
still-
I think, that we
yeah.
keep reaching out to every year to say, hey, I got it for you, do you wanna give it up? But someone keeps paying the tax bills on
They
it.
keep,
So
they keep paying the
they
$15
keep
tax
paying
bill or
the-
whatever
yeah.
it is,
So Rod's
yeah.
gonna see if he can find, or actually speak to someone and,
Yeah.
see if they can have more of a conversation than just ignoring our
Yeah.
letters. But I just wanted to point out that really, truly, there's only 20 here, that we own that may or may not actually be viable to be sold, and we'll look into it further.
And the same thing is what was brought up at the candidates night about the state building out on 106. We
Yeah.
already sent a letter to the state, asked them if they could do a facelift or just sell it to somebody that could really use it, and then it goes back on the tax roll. But again, go
And they
talk to
denied
some
that request.
hearing you.
The governor's looking into it this year.
Yes, And obviously, since that meeting, she put it on the list, correct? So it may happen. Any other new
Get on that,
business?
will ya?
Yes, I have a update from, Brian on a water meter replacements.
Over here.
Water meters. There you go, that's a water meter.
Oh,
With some show and tell.
A little bit of show and tell.
show and tell. Oh,
This
cool.
is actually a request to pull some money out of capital to replace some water meters. That's a water meter that is in most of the house.
Now,
This is in Belmont now.
yeah?
The water meters, there's no moving parts to them, they run on laser, there's not a lot to break. The one downfall to them is they run on a battery that is not changeable. You can, yeah, it's all plastic, you can flip it around, it's not fragile, but pass it down if you want to. That's not the meter that we're kind of talking about. The meter that so that's about $200. There's roughly 500 of them in the field. And we have like 100 brass ones that are in spots that are not really good for those to live in. And then we have 40 large size meters. These large size meters have the same issue. There's no moving parts, they're almost bulletproof, but they have batteries. When the batteries die, they're dead. They start flashing a battery light. We were told at approximately 10 years. Well, when they say approximately, they mean 10 years, because they were all installed in 2014. Half of them have battery lights flashing in them. So these meters range from 1 inch to 2 inch. They range in price from $1,500 to $1,700 each, and that's not for the housing. That's just to change the insert so that we can read them. I feel like part of me wants to budget for this stuff, but the problem with budgeting for these things is if you budget for them, you put them on the shelf, you've got a 10-year battery life that's wearing out on the shelf, and you're wasting a meter that's in service. So, we decided to just take care of the ones that are bad, that have a battery light flashing, and we believe we've got like a 1-year time clock ticking now, hoping it'll last that long. We'll put it in order, we'll get them on their way, and we'll get them changed, and then we've got an itemized inventory moving forward, and now that we know that when that 10 years is up, it's gonna need to be changed, we'll start budgeting for them and start rotating them through so we don't have this huge cost every 10 years. I believe we can rotate the rest of them through and fit it with the budget.
So you're still gonna go with the same meters?
Yeah, well, it's the same housing, so the housing's, I'm guessing around $3,000
Yeah,
plus a plumber to install it.
of course.
These, the bigger meters, they just bolt down into a housing, and then you reprogram it, and the meter reading technology will work from there. So we're trying to tweak it. There's a few, like the bathroom at the mall has a 2-inch meter. I'm not really sure that's necessary to have a 2-inch meter. I can pay to put a smaller meter in, and you get more life out of it. And the meter's cheaper when you do need to replace it 10 years down the road. But we just need to talk to them, make sure they're okay with that. That'll be a one-time cost, and then it will be reduced from there. But, I mean, we're looking for, what is it, if you want a total number, it's 35,000 plus or minus to replace them all. And, that gets us all back up and running, and then we can start cycling the other 20 through, when necessary.
Well, any of this expense, comes out of user fees.
Correct.
And when have we looked at the increase of the user fees
We
lately?
definitely need to look at that now that we have a new budget and, looking at the capital reserves, but also the issue with not replacing these is we're losing revenue because they are faulty,
Sure, you don't know.
They're not reading correctly, and we don't really know until you start saying, that doesn't seem right, and then we go and look like, oh yeah, I haven't even been reading correctly, so.
Yeah, so we
We're
have to.
losing a lot of revenue with, and our lost water,
Yeah, due to,
Updating these meters, they'll probably pay for themselves in 2 years, I'd say.
mhm.
And then moving forward on our line item for our budget, we're gonna bring back that meter replacement budget, I think, and start rolling it in, because what I don't wanna run into is when those have a 20-year lifespan, so they're half-life right now. I don't wanna have to replace 600 of those in another
Right.
10 years. I mean, they're only $200 a piece, but if I can budget and start rotating and get, 100.
But you have 35 of them that you really need to rotate now, is what you're
I
saying.
have 20 of them that need to
Oh.
be changed in the next year.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we'd rather just go to capital once, get this solved.
Yeah.
We have a budget that will supply us with our normal swap outs.
Sure.
We always have, there's always, one that dies, one that gets frozen, which if it freezes, it's neglected and the customer pays for it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Mhm.
there's normal maintenance that we run for, but we don't budget for that, or we didn't in the past. We will now that we know their lifespan.
So we need to look at, obviously, pulling those funds out of capital to do the ones that are immediate, and then we need to be looking at rates, right? Water rates. When we change the water rates, do we adjust the sewer? No, not necessarily.
You would if you yes, you
Yeah.
would if you needed to. You would
That's
just do
what
them
I
at the same time. You
Yeah.
just have to look at the new proposed budget and then adjust rates accordingly.
Okay, all right.
So I just ask for a motion to authorize the withdrawal of capital reserve funds from withdrawal of the water capital reserve funds to replace faulty water meters.
And we don't know what that cost is at this point.
So the rough.
Rough, approximately.
It might be a little more, it might be a little less, depending on what we can, if I can pull a $1,700 meter out of service and put a $200 meter in and it serves the same purpose,
Yeah.
and we still get the same accuracy, it's just a.
Well, the meters have gotta work, otherwise you're not getting accurate readings. I mean, I've been there, done that. So you have to bite the bullet and you've gotta replace it. And as Alicia says, we're losing revenue, which is monies that we need. Okay, all right. Did you make yeah, you made Alicia made the motion. I'll accept Alicia's motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I can't make the motion.
No, but I made the motion. I made the motion to obviously,
Authorize the withdrawal of 35,000 plus or minus from the water,
capital reserve.
yes,
I'll
to
second.
replace faulty water meters.
It's not, we don't have much choice. We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposition? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, you are just filled with good news today. That's what happens.
It'll help in the long run.
It will, most certainly will.
Okay, take your meter and get out.
Yeah, take your meter and leave.
I think that's the last one.
Yes. So bringing back up to the wage adjustments, so in April is when we do our wage adjustments for, all of our employees as stated by our, policy. As we know, now that the PD's, union amended contract has passed, so now you have PD, fire, and DPW all on the new revised amended scales. So those you guys have in front of you that are signed, that are approved as of town meeting. So now that we are in a default, up for consideration is if we are going to move forward with non-union wage increases as proposed in our 2025 budget.
Okay. Discussion? Am I gonna be the bad person? Okay, I'll be the bad person. I recommend no raises at all. We freeze raises. I recommend, freezing hiring. And I do know we have some openings in, union, but I feel that we need to, address those on an individual basis. We don't have the money. Pure and simple. If you run a business and you don't have the money, you can't pay it out. And I think we've all had jobs before. I think we've been very fortunate in town to be able to provide these raises on a yearly basis. I know it's not a good subject to talk about, but if you don't have the money, you can't pay out. We have, I believe, union negotiations starting in August. I think about that. The attorney fees for that are gonna be high. I think about the fire truck that needs, how much money? What was the estimate to repair the fire truck? $33,000. I know it was 30,000 plus. Here we go, we're going to court on abatements. Our regular attorney fees are going to increase. I just, at the moment, I feel that we can't, I guess my question is that, how do we pay out if we don't have the money?
So I would ask that we do the same exercise that we did last year, and we obviously have to go back to the drawing board anyways, because we're now in a default. There is already excess funds with the police department not being fully staffed from January to now. I've crunched those numbers, and right off the bat, that's $161,000 that we haven't spent. We haven't spent $35,000 so far in health insurance, so that right there is we're already in the plus that much money. We have encumbrances from last year that you would hit first, in the amount of probably, I think it was $180,000 that you would hit first, that you wouldn't have to touch your operating budget. So there is room. I've already started the preliminary of, cutting the budget. The department heads have already been asked to start relooking at their numbers, same as we did last year. I've gotten it to a number where we could still include the wages and we'd still be within the default. Obviously,
But
I think
again,
we should do another, powwow and to see what we're gonna cut. Are you gonna fund Old Home Day? Are you gonna do the household hazardous waste? Like another work session like we did before to see what we're gonna cut for services.
But again, this is our second year of default. And there's always that chance we could go to a third year. We have to make up those wages every year. We've gotta make up last year's wages. Now you wanna add more monies to this year's wages? No, I'm not in agreement to giving non-union raises at this time. And
I don't think that's fair.
maybe it isn't, but we're going into, that was a union negotiation 3 years ago.
I think we're talking about hot air right now, and I say that, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Let her do her job, and let the department heads and her, and our administrator, set forth a plan and see what the dollars and what the values are before we say no to anything, or yes to anything. Let them put together, they're the people that we pay and do, that's her job. And so she's already started to look at it. This is a week we've been in this dilemma, not thinking that would happen again. And I think that we should look at it and then see a plan that's brought forth to try to retain our hourly people and our non-union people. And I don't pay them when we don't have it, but where do we really stand, the nuts and bolts of it? And right now, I'm not to I can fix an automobile and tell you how much to pay for one and how long it's gonna last. But when it comes to telling her what to do about wages and how to look at the financial reports, that's not me. I need somebody to do it and show me a way out of this.
Okay, so when is our next meeting scheduled?
Well, we'd
I
have
would-
to decide on this before, at this
So,
meeting. We'd have to decide on this at this meeting, cause
Right.
wage is gonna affect April 1st.
well, let me redo
Okay.
my motion. I'll make the motion to freeze wages, freeze hiring until the Board of Selectmen have a chance to go through the budget, because our next meeting isn't till April 2nd. So we can freeze it till, May 1st at this point.
So my suggestion would be, that we have a, work session like we did last year, next week.
Well, again, I think the work session is between you and your staff of the road agent, the sewer people, the water people, the fire department, the police department, they're union. But if they got non-union people, then they gotta be involved in this, because the union said it, I hate to call him the bean counter, but our accountant over here. I mean, and sit down.
You've called me worse.
And I don't know that, to be quite frank with you, in my opinion, you don't need us there to do that. You have the numbers, you have the time, and come up with a plan that's equitable to present to us, and then if you have 2 meetings in 1 week, it isn't gonna kill us. I mean, if we have to attend, if you want us to sit there. But I think the questions that have to be asked, and I understand what Ruth's trying, I know exactly what she's saying, because I bought and sold a few businesses, and one of them was a family-owned business for 30 years, and I had to cut people out the door that were there for 30 years. So I don't wanna see that happen here, but in the same token, I don't like the idea of 800 people vote for 5,000 either.
Well, that's how many voted, and
I know, I
there's not
understand
much we
that.
can do about
No,
that.
I'll say that I do think we should do it the way we did last year, though, with us meeting with department heads.
Yes,
I
definitely.
think at the end of the day, it comes down to us. We are the financial and policy decision makers of the town, so.
Mhm.
I've already started with, working on the revised budgets, the department heads have all gotten their worksheets and to start working on it. I've been crunching what we've already saved, like I already presented to you, and right now I'm at like $200 under the default, but I think I actually can find some more. And obviously, as we know, it's ever evolving as you don't spend from certain lines. I've accounted for lines such as Donna and her housing. I left her at what she budgeted because we know she's gonna go, over, most likely. So I haven't even, touched some of those lines, and, some of the contracts that we're obligated to play,
What I
to
worry
pay.
about,
I've
what
got
I worry
those.
about is, I guess, we have a fire truck that needs $30,000 worth of maintenance. We don't know what might pop up with a highway, our highway, our fire, and our police are huge, okay? And they're moving vehicles, they're all in vehicles, they're all out there. And, we ended up taking, the ambulance needed money, and we had to take monies from a different account. One of the positive things about a default is you can move monies wherever, from the fire, from the police, from the highway, from wherever. You can move monies around anywhere because it is a default. But again, we don't wanna sell ourselves short. We've got equipment that needs to be repaired, we've got, we had to do some work on the fire station. Those kind of things pop up. What happens if we need a roof somewhere? What happens if we need, I don't know, a furnace goes down? I
Luckily, we
just,
still have a little bit
Yes,
in the
Jen.
capital reserve for that one.
well,
for that.
Can I make a statement?
yeah,
So, last year we went into default budget for the first time. And in order to support our police department, which we all gladly and willingly did, we all went back, all the
Right.
department heads went back, we put in the work to reconfigure a budget after it had already been approved by you, by the budget committee, by our town administrator, to support them specifically, which was no small undertaking, as you all know, you were there. Speaking from personal experience within my department, I came here in October 2023 with no staff, with nothing in place. Over the past year, I've managed to, in a default budget, somehow train my staff to provide stellar service to this town, which we get complimented on constantly. Every department that I work with offers the same. I feel like for us to suffer and not be given a wage increase for all the hard work, the above and beyond hard work that we've put in and continue to put in. It's just, it doesn't sit very well with me. I believe that the current COLA increase would be a 4% increase. Maybe at the very least, we can work within that, maybe bring it down to 3 or 2%. So work with those numbers. I would like to see a work session with you and us, because then we can explain to you what we're cutting and how it affects each department, and you see how much we're working towards keeping the town going, and our support for the town and the budget and everybody that works here and everybody that lives here. And that's all.
So where I sit at, and with the numbers I've played with, as of today, I could justify a 2%. The certain positions obviously have like contractual obligations. Not knowing what department heads can cut, That's where I'm comfortable at right now, is probably 2%, but that's my thought.
Would you be amenable to putting a pin in the decision, have the work sessions, let me provide you with the information, cause we need to, I need to provide you with the information that you're comfortable that we're gonna even hit the default number.
Well, I guess the thing that bothers me the most is this is our second year of default, but now all of a sudden we can find all this money. I'm a little, concerned about that.
So we found the money because, like I stated before, PD has had 5
Right.
unfilled positions already, and that's already almost $200,000 savings that we have had there. And that's the only reason we had the savings last year was because we had 5 unfilled positions, which had a $300,000 effect on the overall budget of what they didn't spend. And then the other unspent was just your, 500 here, 100 here, it all trickles down between your, I don't know how many lines we have, it all adds up of
Well,
your overall
but
savings.
we're looking at 2025, and I believe in the last couple weeks, we've sworn in 2 police officers. So does that mean those 5 positions are now down to 3 positions? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
We're still down 5 positions plus a dispatcher.
Plus a dispatcher. Okay.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I think it's a disrespect to your departments if you don't have them sit in front of you and explain to you
And I agree
where
with
they
that.
are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying
Are,
that, but I think if we're working out, excuse me, I'm not saying I don't wanna be here and listen to it. I wanna be here when they come up with a plan. You could sit here and listen to all of you, if everybody's got a plan, say, here's the plan for the police department, and he stands up and says, this is what I can do, and this is what, when we've talked to Alicia, this is the plan. That's the meeting I wanna be at. When it gets right down to knowing what each and everybody does here, I've got a pretty good overview, but I really don't know.
But I don't think that's what the meeting's about, John.
No,
I
but it's
think
about
it is
money.
When any one of the department heads, once we've set a date and we're where we need to be, they're gonna sit in front of you and they're gonna tell you where, and listen in ears, where they feel their cuts are. And if they cut, this is what the town is going to experience. Ultimately, you have the final say. And so I'm not cutting Alicia out, but at the end of the day, the fire chief knows how many individuals they need, boots on the ground. The police chief knows how many positions. So if we just say, oh, we're gonna cut 5 positions.
Yeah, I don't wanna do
We need
that.
to know what the consequences are. But remember something else, you can cut those positions, but you better then think about your overtime side of things.
And that's
gonna go
right.
off the deep end. So does the end meet the means? Always. And I think from the individuals that are responsible to sit here to present at the end of the year, you present a budget, and then ultimately we present to you present to the community. I think that it's really critical for you to be able to see where these, and you can disagree or agree, because at the end of the day, you finalize your decisions. And I'm just saying, so you are.
Then you miss my point. When I try to say, it's the decisions of the few people in the room, the department heads, and Alicia. I can't
But it's
attest.
not our decisions.
No, but you gotta present a plan to me. I'm not gonna walk in and say I want a 4% cut right across the board.
We agree with you,
I-
but what we're saying is that we have a responsibility that you have expectations of your department heads to put together a plan to hopefully be able to manage whatever that department is for the year. And that's all. So when we come in, whether Ruth says no on this, and Travis says no, and you say no, and Sonny and Sharon, at the end of the day, whoever brought forward what they brought forward is what they think. But it might not be where it can be, and that's it. And I'm not trying to have a floor fight here. I just think that those people really and truly deserve to educate you on door 1 and door 2, and then we'll all live with whatever we have to live with. That's just the way it is.
Travis?
Sorry, bring it back to the wage part of this. With the towns I work in the county in different areas, not business, but through my profession, I work in different towns. We have some of the most efficient, effective staff that would suck to lose, no, pardon my language. And nationally, the inflation, I look at the inflation rate, it's since, for the past 12 months as of February 2025 was 2.8%, according to US Bureau of Statistics. So even 2% is still below inflation. That's where I came up with the 2% number, and running the numbers, I think easily we could fit it in there, depending, going forward, we could go up depending on what we do for budgeting.
Ron?
Yeah. Bottom line is you gotta keep morale up for people that you're gonna keep. I've been through this before with a private company, where we all had to take a wage cut. And the reason why we stayed with the company, cause they said, well, when the things get better, you'll be the first one to get a raise. And so you gotta instill that in it. If you're gonna hold them to a point, if you wanna keep that help, you gotta still say, you know, we appreciate your service to the town, and we understand it's got a problem, but you gotta keep the morale up. And if you leave the meeting and say, oh, we gotta cut this and we gotta cut that, that's not gonna sit well, because they're gonna start thinking, well, I guess we'll have to look at another job. So I kinda agree with John that go through the whole process and see where we can cut and where we can't cut. But you gotta still respect the people that you got working for you, because we got a lot of good people that have been here a long time. And if they're union or non-union, it doesn't make any difference. They still provide a service to the town. And so I think that's the way you gotta go. I agree with John that, see where it goes.
So then we
but
need to get a
not
couple
today.
meetings in for next week, so that we can make April 1st. Otherwise, at this point, we can't pay April 1st a 4% increase.
Correct.
Not without finding out where all these departments are gonna save all this money, okay? Because we do know, we got some expenses that we have no choice that we're gonna have to pay, all right? We know where our insurance rates are, we know where our health insurance, so we know where all of that is at this point. But I think the other thing we have to obviously keep in mind, that, God forbid, if we go into a third year of default, like Gilmington just went in, okay? Now we have to, we've now given 2 pay raises with a default budget, and we could be looking at, again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but we could look at a third year with, you know, so if we give a 2% raise, are we looking at dealing with no raise the following year?
But the taxpayers are gonna understand this. What they did, I don't know how you get the message out. Whether they care or they don't care.
They don't care.
Well,
Right. Well, I hope they care.
all these
but-
people are working for them, working for the taxpayer. They gotta understand that if we punish the town, it's gonna hurt us, you know, with them call up and complain, but I don't understand why they thought it was a good idea to cut.
Well, obviously, when you had those articles that were paid, was not gonna cost taxpayers any money, and they didn't understand. They thought we were all hoarding money, but they didn't understand it was from vacated positions.
John, Ron, I stood out there all day, and when I tried to discuss the budget with many, many people, I was told, you guys made it last year, and so you can't, it's a different mentality, and that's what we're up against. You made it last year, and you'll do it again this year. You're just gonna have to make the cuts wherever is necessary. I mean, unless we can, mid-year, start educating this community a different way and take some different approaches,
I don't know why they think we're different than the school.
well, that's a separate.
Go Travis.
I'd say, sorry, not Alicia. Wow, Donna, you are right. It's not that we have a bad budgeting process or a bad budget or anything. It's they're not seeing the return on the investment that they're giving us from tax dollars. Like I was at the library trustee meeting. I learned more about that library in that one meeting than I've done sitting on this board. They truly, if they sold their budget more, or like what their services are, people wouldn't question their budgets. I think same with us and our department heads. No offense, department heads. I think it's a different voter base than we're used to, and they're going to keep coming out.
Well, it's definitely,
And they're
I
gonna
agree
keep
with
voting no.
It's definitely voter education. When my daughter sat in front of me and took the on a nondescript ballot, a test ballot. She wrote down the numbers. Now, the fund that we have in town, that we give money to the Boy Scouts.
Oh, the sergeant fund.
Sergeant fund.
Yeah.
That just barely passed and has nothing to do with town money. That just barely passed. It was, you know, 15, 20 vote difference in that. There's no expense to the town. None.
Don't understand. They don't care to understand, John.
No, they don't. Obviously.
They haven't felt the pain. The bottom line is they haven't felt the pain.
That's
And,
exactly.
When the cruiser doesn't show up, or the fire truck, you know, we have to have another town that comes in that whatever, they just, it's a very challenging world we're living in right now.
Well, and so I guess then we throw it back on our department heads to, come back with us and, find, how much money? Couple $100,000?
$500,000?
$500,000, $500,000?
Are we gonna, is there a motion to still vote on?
Sharon.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable making any decision on this without having the work session. I don't have specific numbers, I
didn't say you didn't have it.
can't make
You didn't
an
listen.
informed decision, so. And just for clarification, cause it's very easy to pull up, the sergeant fund vote was 732 yes and 134 no.
Okay, but just think of the 134 people. Where they come up with the no. I mean, just look, how do they get no? It didn't cost them any money.
But they don't realize that.
Well, I use
Well-
the sergeant fund number as a number to know who's coming in and just voting no. That's the only reason I use sergeant. I know it's gonna pass every year, but that's the way to grade how many people are coming in voting no. So we know we're gonna get 134 no's that year on that ballot. We have to convince the other 600, whatever.
Well, for information purposes, Kate put a question on the community page and said, why did you not vote for the cemetery trustees to go from 3 to 5? And one woman actually said is that she got in the groove of just filling in no,
Oh, of course.
and she didn't stop. She's like, sorry about that. So she came in and didn't even read the ballot, she just admittedly said no.
So can I have a point of clarification though? The wage adjustments, now I understood that, union employees were obligated to get whatever.
Correct,
they
because
did.
that was a contract.
So this conversation really evolves around non-union.
That's
That's what the issue is,
It is.
so.
And even though, I believe it was 4%, even though the 4% was brought forward, that is the proposed budget. Doesn't mean anybody's gonna get 4%. It is the proposed budget that we're bringing forward to the taxpayers, and the taxpayers voted no.
So one way or another, April 1st, union employees
They
will
will
get
receive,
their wages that are-
their, that's correct.
So this actual, here, where is it on here, wage adjustment approvals for union and non-union, it should not be union, it should be non-union, that's really what this should be.
Because the adjustments,
They signed.
we signed, we have signed because the union,
Approved those.
the union approved, the taxpayers approved the union.
Right, but the topic was,
Right.
you're negotiating
Right.
whether non-union gets
Right.
whatever.
The voters approved the union, the voters did not approve the budget, which is non-union. That's what you deal with. Yes, Jen.
So, union workers, God bless them, they have their union reps to, support them
Mhm.
and back them and, go to bat for them. And we, as town employees, have you guys. So
Yep.
I'm just asking you guys to give us a
Yep.
chance. We did it in benefit of the police department last year.
Mhm.
I totally understand your point, but we, we work really
We're not,
hard.
Jen, I think that's, we are not saying that no one.
I don't feel like
Works.
you are,
No.
but I'm just trying to.
Reality is, it boils down to the dollars and cents, unfortunately.
I understand
Yeah.
that, I just.
Yeah. I'm not knocking what people do, because everyone works very hard.
Yes.
But again, no different than being in business. there's only so much money, and I don't know about anybody else, but I worked very hard all my life, and I never got a raise every single year. And it seems like the town's been very fortunate, and again, I think you've been fortunate because it fell behind, you know, and so we've tried really hard to get people, their wages, how do I wanna say, competitive.
Well, we've
All
lost
right.
a lot of employees for non-competitive wages.
Yeah.
We don't wanna get back there
No,
again.
no, we don't.
That'll happen again.
But again, so do we not repair the fire truck for 30,000?
If you have a business that doesn't support their staff.
We
and
close
their
it
staff-
down.
And their staff leaves, we close it down, you can't
That's
close it
correct.
down now. What you can do is, when people show up and knock on the door and say, can I register my car? No, sorry, go to Concord.
And they very much,
Your employees will move on to other avenues.
totally understand.
The biggest thing is inflation has killed everybody.
It is.
And it's changed everybody's attitudes about things. And so everybody's looking out for their pocket. When you gotta pay $8, $9 for a dozen of eggs and all that stuff. So, looking at the people, when I voted, there were a lot of seniors in there. And they're voting their pocketbook, I'm sure a lot of them were. But we still gotta maintain a core of individuals to support the town, to work for the town. And so we gotta do everything we can do in order to maintain those folks, cause retraining costs a hell of a lot more than it does to,
It does, but the first time you call for an ambulance, or someone calls for a fire truck, or someone calls for a police officer, and we're minus those things to show up, or they show up slowly, we're gonna hear, obviously.
well, you will, but then that's the way life is. That's for mutual aid, that's what we have the mutual aid system for. And the same thing in the police department. And we've been going light with the police department for years. You know, I complain all the time about the speeders and all of that stuff, same as you do, and the traffic. So we all have these issues, but we still gotta maintain our people. Whether we don't do something or whatever wrong, but
See,
basically.
we're back to the same thing, Ron, we're
I
going
know.
in circles.
It's not easy.
It isn't, and unfortunately, there's gotta be cuts. There has to be cuts somewhere. So if we're not gonna cut employees, and we're gonna keep everybody whole and give everybody raises, what are we gonna cut? We gotta cut something. I don't know, what are we gonna cut? We gonna stop salting the road? We're gonna stop buying salt for the roads? Are we gonna, then that's gonna give the police department a lot more business, because there's gonna be more people off the road? Are we not gonna stop plowing till there's 4 inches of snow, 5 inches of snow on the road? I mean, you know, where are we gonna make those cuts? Services, yes?
On the departments that are unionized.
Yeah.
That's voluntary, right?
Voluntary for what?
You can, if you work, let's say at DPW, you can either be in the union or not in the union. That's the choice of the employee, right?
No.
Yes, the state of New Hampshire allows people to opt out of being in the union for its government employees.
So they're still covered by
Are
the
you
union.
still considered a union?
But just so, yeah,
Yeah.
and,
It's the
right.
political side that you don't have to contribute to.
I didn't know if by holding off on the raises of the non-union, if you're gonna have a rush of people signing up to join the union.
Yeah, no, it's,
But
yeah.
if the department has a union, then you're considered part of the union.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, they are,
thank you.
yeah. I know that's how the state works.
Right, I mean, I think it's gonna be a balancing act. I mean, emergency services, what are we prepared to go without? Are we prepared to go without 4 or 5 police officers, 2 firemen? I mean, that's what it's gonna boil down to balance, unfortunately, the top side of the salary employees. I mean, and it's their tough decisions. I mean, you guys have the worst seats in the town right now. I mean, you do.
And no one wants to lose anything, and I understand that. No, everyone wants to stay whole, okay? But again, the bottom line is, we only have so much money, and we gotta,
And what is our obligation?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where,
Mhm.
that's what it comes down to.
Mhm.
What is our,
Yep.
life safety emergency,
right?
whatever.
I don't know. Okay, so we need to set up a couple,
Are you guys?
We need to approve a motion first.
okay.
Ruth made a motion to freeze wages and hiring until the Board of Selectmen has a chance to review the budget. That's
Can
the motion.
can we divide that motion?
Divide that motion?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we vote on the wages and then vote on the hiring freeze after.
That's fine.
Okay.
So,
So are you
Yeah.
revoking your
so,
revoked?
I gotta make a new motion. I'll make the motion that wages be frozen until we have, met
For a work session.
for a work session with our department heads and come back with a new, proposal. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
No,
What was the second part that you wanted her to take?
well, I gotta, we gotta vote on the first part first,
Okay,
right?
yes.
Okay, so,
all
Sunny
in-
is seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
I oppose.
Okay, you're opposing? Sharon?
Oh, I said aye.
Okay, that passes. Second part of the second motion is I'll make a motion, what was that motion? Oh, I forget.
For hiring freeze.
Right. The second part of the motion is pretty much the same as the first, that I propose a hiring freeze until we have done our workshops and got together with our department heads and come back here for a meeting to, decide if we're gonna keep it or not, I guess. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
No.
Okay, all right.
Will March 26th work for you guys, which is next Wednesday?
What day is that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
This is a
I don't have my
meeting.
book
Yeah,
with
since
me,
it's
so-
within a week, can we do it in the afternoon so I can let my boss know?
Yeah, we can do it in the afternoon, can't we?
Cause I need to get in
On
touch
the
with my boss.
26th, like what, 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
3 o'clock, 4
Four
o'clock?
would be good.
So
4,
at 4:30, so we can close down town offices.
Oh yeah, you guys close at 4.
We close at 4.
is
So
4:30 on
That's fine.
Wednesday, March 26th? Will that give the department heads time enough to do?
Just a reminder that zoning board that night too, so, I mean, depending on how long it's gonna take for zoning board.
Well, they'll have to go over
Sure.
there, I guess.
Karen's in charge though.
Okay, well, we can.
Karen to the top.
Thursday to give more time. If you guys are free.
Are we all doing on the same night? Like we're getting every department done on the same night? Yeah, we have no choice.
The only thing I can't,
Go ahead,
the only day that week I can't do is Friday because my son has surgery.
all right.
So we could either do Tuesday or Thursday.
Tuesday's cutting
I
it
say
pretty.
Thursday, if Wednesday or
close.
Thursday, probably best for the department heads to go push it
You guys do
out.
Thursday, or John, you got the,
I'll be in town.
What happened to Wednesday?
Planning.
meeting here, so we're trying to.
Okay, so it's the 27th now?
Do you guys wanna do that?
March 27th at 4:30 here. Now, this is a work session. It's open to the public, but there is no public comment, correct? Okay. So we will meet here March 27th at 4:30 with our department heads.
And then if
I'll
need
bring
be,
the
we could
refreshments.
always meet Friday to rehash and or the 31st.
I can't do Friday, so.
Yeah, his son is having some surgery on Friday. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what time is that gonna be?
4:30, March 27th. So the department heads will need to be prepared for that meeting.
Maybe we could sell this town to Tilton, call
The
it
other
East
thing that
Tilton.
we didn't do at the beginning of your meeting was, set your meeting schedule. If you guys still wanna do it Wednesdays at 10, you do need to set that moving forward. I only request that we at least have Wednesdays. Wednesdays have worked out really well for these last few years. It gives us more time to, get prepared for a meeting than when we have them on
I'll make the
Mondays.
motion, keep the meetings Wednesday at 10.
Is that a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Can we talk about that real quick?
Yep, let's discuss that before we
Thank you.
vote on it.
So, with the petition that went in, there was, what, 600 people that wanted our meetings after 4 o'clock?
No. But that was
And that was the,
advisory.
I know it was advisory, but that was, and everyone said it's gonna get shot down because it's the last question on the ballot, and had 600 yeses on it. So I think, I know it's advisory, I know it's not binding. It might not change how many people show up, but it's what the voters want to see from us, and I think if we try to abide by something they wanna see, they might be more apt to help us out with the budget.
Well, why don't we go 50-50? Can't we do a meeting at 10 o'clock on the first of the month, and then a meeting at, 4:30 on the end of the month? I mean,
We discussed that last year, and it is very confusing to have to change all your agendas and to remember, oh, is this the first one or the early one or the late one?
Why don't you do it for 2 months and try it, and at least you have a baseline?
yeah,
Of just 4 o'clock, Wednesdays.
and,
Notice
and
vote,
10, yeah.
follow
Gotta make it later than
If
4.
nobody shows up,
They close.
it's a moot point, then go back to your 10, and at least you have a leg to stand on.
Well, I think the other issue is for Travis, it's hard, I mean, Travis gotta take time off work to be here, all right? Our meetings tend to be longer, all right, it seems to be lately.
You
And
wanna find
we-
it, excuse me, the people that want a night meeting and gonna wanna come at 7 o'clock, like a planning board meeting or a
6 or something.
zoning board meeting, they don't wanna come at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, I think the other thing that we're doing is we're trying to help Travis to not have to take so much time off from work to be at a meeting. And so it kind of gives him the availability of, you know, and it doesn't really matter. We all know it doesn't matter whether meetings are in the morning or the afternoon. You get very little public attendance. Most of it is our department heads.
I do like Donna suggested and start off with doing 6 o'clock meetings on Wednesdays, see the attendance, and if it's no longer viable, then you can reduce it.
So-
But again, I think on the other aspect, we're trying to help Travis
So-
too.
Yeah, I wasn't doing 6 o'clock. I wasn't thinking
Like
6
Travis
o'clock.
said, you're gonna get the same turnout at 4:30 as you are at 10, so that doesn't really help anyone who's working and having to travel here.
I won't take credit for that, even though it was John said it in my ear.
Oh,
What John said.
sure.
So, the availability of the building on Wednesday evenings is non-existent, isn't it? You said the first and the fourth?
We oversee the building. We can tell the planning board or whoever is in here that we need this room, they can go the other room, or they can change their meeting date. We're overseers of the town. So they can adjust their schedule around what the selectmen need to do for the people.
Getting his teeth out now.
No, the first Wednesday of the month, the Conservation Commission meets at 6. And then the fourth one is, it would be the third one anyway, wouldn't it?
We have 2 meeting rooms, and if they're not using Zoom, then they can go across the hall. Or they can buy.
I'm going back to my original thought. I'm into the motion. I make a motion that the first meeting of the month, whatever that happens to be.
I'm sorry, we still
What?
have John's motion
Oh.
that's on the table still.
Oh, what's that one?
So John made a motion that we keep our meetings the same, and then Travis said he wanted to discuss.
Okay, that's exactly right.
And
So now I guess we need to vote. Do you want to keep do you want to keep the meetings the same at 10 o'clock in the morning as we've had them, or not?
I'll second that motion.
Okay? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Aye, I oppose. So now we need a new motion. So I'll make the next motion. And my motion is the first meeting of the month be at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the second meeting of the month be at 4:30, 4:30, period.
is that for a certain period of time to try it out, or for the whole?
Yeah, we could try it for 2 months, whatever, April and May. Let's try that. Do I have a second? No second, so nobody wants it then. So now we're back to square one. Maybe we just not have meetings.
I'll make the motion for the meetings to be at 4:30.
What was that motion?
For the meetings to be at 4:30.
4:30.
All of them?
On the same Wednesday?
on the same day.
For a
Do we
certain
have a-
time period to try it, or?
Oh, we can change our meetings anytime we want to anyways, so.
All right. I'll
Do I have a
second
second?
that. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
No,
Okay, let's start over again. What's the next option?
well, we write up a purchase and sales agreement and sell this town to make it, call it East Hilton.
Make a motion for fun at 6 o'clock if you want.
I like 6, but I do
Alright, I'll make a
4:30.
motion for the meetings to be at 6 o'clock.
On the same Wednesday?
Yep.
I'll second it.
oh, I didn't quite catch that.
6 o'clock at night now.
Ooh, not me.
Sharon seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
No,
And I'm gonna say no.
Just keep it the same.
But the vote
Nobody's gonna
is
show
set.
up anyway.
But Ron, the vote is,
I don't care what they did. They voted the budget down, didn't they?
But
So
that's,
they don't
that-
care.
That's why we should care, cause they're voting stuff down on us.
Yeah.
They're gonna keep voting
What's
stuff
the
down
difference
us.
of that?
principle, it's a principle,
Yeah.
and then prove them wrong.
Yes, Tom?
I think there is, the voters made a statement by saying they want to see the changes. And I agree that, you know, you can see it, you know, how many people come to meetings and so forth. I think that what you were talking about at first, of doing a 10 o'clock meeting for the first, but I would go with a 6 o'clock meeting for the second meeting of the month. Give it time for people to get out of work, see what happens. Give it a 1 or 2 months, and then you can come back and say, hey, we changed it to try to accommodate the citizens, but now there's been no change, people aren't showing up, so we're going back to 10, if that's what you wish to do. My
But-
opinion.
The budget committee, we have it at 6 o'clock and nobody shows up. And that's the money time. So obviously, they don't care, so.
Yes, Karen?
Just a point, I understand what Travis is saying about you could move the other boards around. The issue becomes that second meeting at 6 PM is when the zoning board meets. We need Zoom, we need the TVs, we need the technology. Unless you have it across the hall,
So we can do the first one at, later, and the second one, earlier. But I will note, before we even do this, our work sessions, obviously, we've marked it for 4:30. This has nothing to do with the work sessions, because obviously, we're asking all of our department heads to be here. And again, your night meetings, if there's anyone that's hourly, we're paying them overtime, or we've gotta compensate by having them take some time off.
Say they're non-union, so we can ask them to adjust their schedule to not create overtime.
Right, but you have, right.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why the 4:30 would have made a little bit more, because they can
Yes.
adjust the time coming in.
Yeah, correct, right.
So how many people watch us on Zoom? Do you have a count?
Currently, only town staff is watching, so.
How much?
Currently, only town staff. We maybe only have one person, and it's usually her if she can't be here in person, so.
And as far as the YouTube goes, I can track how many people have either viewed or live watched a meeting on our YouTube, and, I mean, it's
comedy hour right now.
Zero. And you know, the other problem that you run into is these people that voted for this night meeting, they're those people that think we're hoarding money or we're doing something illegal or whatever. And that's really the people that voted for that, I feel, okay? I mean, anybody that I talk to, they're not interested. It's sad, it's so sad.
Yep.
So sad.
There was 642 people.
Mhm.
That was more than a hand.
Yes, it was. Yep.
So Bruce, did you make a motion?
No, I haven't made any motion. I gave up on motions. I gave up on the motions. I thought my first motion was good, 50-50, but that got shot down.
Right, but someone just suggested to make the first meeting of the month at 6 PM.
That was, yeah, audience.
No, I thought
Murphy.
that was Ruth.
Maybe it was, did I say
No,
that?
'cause you said
I've lost
4:30.
track.
Say it too.
Did I say?
This motion said 4:30, not
Well, that
6.
stops the confusion about the hall, about using this room for the planning and zoning, so.
Well, you voted against conservation, but we can, they're a little easier to adjust, but that, the first Wednesday of the month is Conservation Commission.
We'll still use, they still use Zoom,
They still use Zoom.
yeah. We do,
What
but
about Tuesday,
sometimes the
Thursdays?
zoning board, if
What
it's
about
a short
Tuesdays and
month,
Thursdays?
zoning board will be the 3rd, if it's,
Anything on Thursdays?
It's usually.
John won't be here
Wow.
Thursday, so that's
They'd be a lot quieter.
Tuesdays. How are we looking?
Could I just make a suggestion? Can we get through our work session? And let's just make our next meeting on April 2nd at 10 o'clock in the morning. And can we just then revisit the meeting schedule?
If you all are agreeing, sure.
I mean, it's just a suggestion. I think we've taken on a
Okay.
lot.
Think
Now,
about it.
I don't have a question, it's not the change.
It's not a motion,
Do
it's
do
just a
we, do
suggestion.
we have a meeting at 4:30 on March 27th?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have a meeting at 4:30 on March 27th.
I'm just verifying,
All right.
I'm a little
Can-
slow.
Okay, can we just kind of leave April 2nd's meeting alone at the moment? And we will bring it up for discussion at our April 2nd meeting. Is that okay?
sure.
Can we all compromise and
So do we
just-
make a motion to table this until April 2nd?
Yeah, let's table this subject until April 2nd at 10 o'clock in the morning, okay? And do I have a second for that?
Oh, I put Sharon as making the
Oh,
motion.
okay, and then I'll second that, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you want to oppose? And Travis is gonna oppose that, all right? And we'll just bring it up next, okay? Do we have, we have one, we have a response letter under old business.
Yes, I provided you with the response back from Wright Pierce on behalf of, DES, the Woonsocket River Basin. As you recall, we had, gotten their letter about, Route 140 Forest Main, and then we hired Underwood to dissect that letter and come back with a response to them. This is their response back to that. I have, the whole entire document is about 40 plus pages, so if you do want the full one with their worksheets and the color pictures, I can provide it to you, but I only provided you with the first 2 pages of the memo there. Underwood will be responding back to this, but I wanted you guys to have it. Basically, they kind of say, prove it.
In other words, they're saying no, yeah.
Yeah. So, I do have a meeting with, the Woonsocket River Basin is meeting tomorrow. We have our schedules around for that. So that is tomorrow. If you guys want to attend and listen to some interesting, things that we are bringing forward as a group.
Is it here?
Yes.
What time?
10.
I
So
can't.
this is just your FYI on this.
This is not gonna go well. It's, yeah. Yep. All right. Do we have any other old business?
Yes, earlier, I think in the year it was, or maybe it was even last year, you guys had, given your blessing on town staff to participate in CPR and first aid training. Yesterday we did the town hall staff that all wanted to participate in that, and Ruth, you were one of those, and
In the
Sharon, you
afternoon.
were gonna, do that, so we had, 16 employees from town hall get CPR certified and first aid trained. And then the fire department will go to DPW and do their training, for those employees that want it, and then the police department as well.
And that was also the
I could
AED.
I
And
cannot do,
Call 911.
so,
I'll see, I don't know the schedule for DPW and.
We learned what we had to do. Right? 911.
That was good, I think.
AED.
Think
All
they
right.
all appreciated the ability for you to allow them to do that.
All right. have a non-public,
I do have non-public.
91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, letter.
talking about finances and getting your thought differently, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need to be.
No,
and make
it is.
about me or anything else other
Yeah.
than.
No, not a problem. If something had come up,
100%.
although I don't know if I even saw you there, but
No,
that's, yeah, but you could have,
Yeah.
yeah, if there was something, not a problem. All right, thank you. Thank you. And the guys did a great job yesterday.
Good, thank
That
you.
was
Good to hear.
kinda,
Yeah,
yeah.
and ironically, cardiac arrest came in right when that was going on, so.
Yep, I know,
Yeah.
I know that, yeah. Yep, thank you. Oh, my freaking word. So were you lame? You were lame? Mark hasn't recuperated yet. From my walking by the window, the cow walking by the window, then you walking by the window.
Waving at them.
God.
Just
Did you guys lose a cow?
No, we didn't, but Mark Roberts did.
They ended up at her house.
Oh, really? Did
And
you?
it wasn't a cow, it was a, boy, she was a bitch too. She was,
She
'cause,
said she's 8 years old, was born on the farm and died on the trailer.
Oh, boy. So
I,
she was
I
scared.
deserve a blue
Did
ribbon.
you walk her down the road, or did you get her in a trailer?
Yeah,
Yeah?
We tracked her through the woods and down the road and.
this cow came from Hackett Road, crossed 140, down through the woods, crossed 106, and Waring Road, South Road, and that's where at the cemetery I kinda interrupt and got her. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But my husband is sitting in his lounge chair in the living room with the big bow window, and the cow she got following me then really well. And I walk across the lawn, I got a pail,
Yeah.
and this huge cow is following me with this big chain around her. And I walk by with the cow's behind me, and Steve's behind the cow.
We're still live.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Steve's behind me with the little whip with the yellow flag that I gave him, right? And Mark's sitting in his chair. I thought he was gonna- Yeah, we got her in the rink, in the outdoor rink, and my stock trailer was still in there because we pack it in there in the winter. And then Mark proceeds to tell us, oh, she's never been in a trailer before. I
She
went,
liked that hay though.
she loved that hay.
That was.
I knew, which tells me, imagine, right? Yeah. Yep. We were lucky, because I was afraid she was gonna go right through well, if we hadn't had people on the outside of that rink, I think she would have gone right through the fence. Yeah. So, yeah, that was our rodeo this week.
That's quite a hike.
Oh, it was. I look at it this way. If I make